Love wants you, we can bring it on the floor. Never danced like this before. We don't talk about it.
Hey guys, what's cracking? It is Cracking Nation here, coach of the Boston Bisharps, and we are today coming at you with our CSL Season X post-com of this battle. Unfortunately, I was super sick when I was playing this battle, and so there is no recording, but there's a lot to be learned from this game, I think, so we're going to just give it a quick watch. I think I actually, just overall summation, played really well early in mid-game. Actually, absolutely dominated this man early in mid-game, and just ended up really a couple turns of bad luck and a couple turns of just like some egregious bad luck combined with just some a couple key misplays that could easily have not mattered without the hacks, but also could have easily been avoided and minimized the potential impact of hacks later on. I just think there's some things to be learned here, so definitely want to go over that. But just gonna play. So right off the bat, my opponent has brought Aggron, Tornadus, Raikou, Hydreigon, Darmanitan, Araquanid. This is just about the team I was expecting. Araquanid makes me very nervous because the webs are obviously an important factor. I unfortunately brought Avalugg just to beat Araquanid. Swellow is actually my defogger, but an offensive Araquanid could put in a lot of work if not for Avalugg. And that wasn't actually, it didn't end up being the problem, but the play I clicked in defog ended up being a pretty big problem. So we're going to play with music off. So right off the bat, I led with Avalugg, which is super weird in most situations to lead. I'm actually an Akaberry Avalugg. So I basically, if any of the second one of these Pokemon, I can just click Avalanche, and the second one of these Pokemon click a fire move against me, it's going to die, specifically Hydreigon and Tornadus clicking their fire coverage. So I actually could play it very confidently with Avalugg, knowing that I had Garchomp to switch into Darmanitan, and then besides that, Avalugg actually just beats almost this whole team. So he kind of expects that almost, I think, and plays very cautiously around Avalugg, goes into Araquanid on turn 1, on which I clicked Avalanche, because I always know I can get off free Avalanches and just get chip damage all day. He gets up his webs, which I have to recognize right off the bat is going to be a problem for a Magearna trying to shift gear up against a potentially Choice Scarfed Darmanitan or a Choice Scarfed Hydreigon. Anything that's Scarf basically is a problem for Magearna after if it clicks shift gear. It ends up being that nothing on his team was Scarf, I think. So I couldn't know that obviously, but I feel like maybe, I don't know. It was definitely weird that nothing was Scarfed, and it doesn't end up mattering, so I don't know. But he does go for the webs. Interestingly enough, he sets the webs up on Avalugg. I don't know if that was a good plan on his part, knowing I might have Rapid Spin, but I mean, he went for it, and clearly he won the battle, so like I don't know how much right I have to diss that play. So he goes into Araquanid. I get the Toxic off. I actually click Earthquake here because I'm expecting Aggron to be a switch, but I end up hitting Darmanitan instead. I just figured that Earthquake is a super safe play because he switches into any of he can't switch into Raikou because I hit Raikou. I'm going to beat this now Toxic Araquanid one-on-one. I hit Darm, I hit Aggron, and then if he goes into Hydreigon or Torn, I would obviously be just, while they are immune, I would be in a situation where I would just be clicking Avalanche getting a kill. So I kept that very much in mind with and I just clicked Earthquake, which ended up bopping this thing, and I think at this point, this was a key play where I actually really had him on the ropes. He ends up clicking Toxic here when I switch into Garchomp, which is awesome for me because I don't end up taking any damage on Garchomp, but was very curious. I think he just wanted to make sure he beat the Avalugg. I ended up clicking the Dragon Claw, which brings in the Aggron. Kind of obvious, but I also I don't necessarily reveal that I'm Scarf unless he was Scarf Toxic, which I guess is possible, which is actually totally possible now that I think about it. But I go into Avalugg because Avalugg actually does not fear this. It's actually heavier than Aggron, so the heavy slam does actually nothing. And I'm able to just kind of sit there and be fat against this thing. Click Recover to make sure I have the health to take on whatever comes in next, knowing that Aggron is not really an issue. I actually, again, in a situation where I'm just going to click the Avalanche here again, because like I said before, I just always pretty much click Avalanche, and I just get this chip damage. The Araquanid comes in. I'm a little nervous with this Araquanid clicking Toxic, so I actually was really hoping he would click Toxic again and to beat my my Avalugg, but he actually goes for liquidation, which ends up doing a lot to Garchomp that I'm not totally okay with. Garchomp at this point is basically fodder to most attacks, or he's going to die to Toxic next turn. I didn't want to switch anything. I guess I could have switched in Avalugg, but again, I didn't want to get Toxic when it is going to be potentially so big against actually literally every single mon on this team. Avalugg can take on one-on-one at this point, so I really didn't want to get Toxic. I let it take the kill, and I let it die. At this point, I go into Avalugg again, just like I've been saying. Avalugg actually somehow generates immense offensive pressure in this matchup. At this point, I think I'm still completely outplaying my opponent. Obviously, liquidation wasn't ideal for me, but I am in a situation where like I was able to make a risky play like that because I knew I would still be ahead in the end. Because at this point, I'm still pretty much completely outplaying my opponent. He clicks the Fire Blast here, and Aqua Berry Z Fire Blast actually no less. It actually does only like 70% or something. 58 actually. It's like so only 60. I actually click Avalanche and totally demolish this thing. At this point, Avalugg is weakened, which was unfortunate because obviously it's such a key part of this matchup. He also proceeds to land literally every Hurricane he clicks for the rest of the match. Be that good or bad luck. Obviously, Hurricane theoretically should be landing at 70%, but he actually hits literally every single one. And that definitely is kind of puts a cramp on my style. I had clicked Recover there, but I kind of expected him to click Heat Wave. Maybe he didn't actually end up having it all. So at this point, I see that he's not Life Orb, actually. So that's key. I'm pretty much guessing that he's not Z. So he's either like a spec set, is everything possible, or he's like an AV set. It's one or the other. But I really was not expecting him to be specs, because I have a Goodra there, and if he just was clicking that, I just basically land free attacks off with Goodra. But this was kind of a play where I think I might have made a mistake. Goodra could have easily generated me some more offensive pressure here and kept the ball rolling, but I decided to go into Swellow and click Defog because I thought Magearna was a win condition. Had I been a little more patient and maybe thought this out a little better, I would have quickly realized that Magearna can't actually kill. Even if I got Rocks up with my Azelf, Magearna doesn't kill Torn with an Ice Beam, and that's a big problem. It's Z Focus Blast, so it does bust through Aggron, but this Aggron needs to be weakened, first of all. It also doesn't. I also don't kill Raikou because I'm not running Fairy Cover, so I actually don't hit Raikou that hard even. So at this point in the game, I should have probably realized that my two fastest mons are Swellow and Azelf, neither of which really fear these webs, obviously. And Swellow actually just put so much pressure on this team by clicking Boom Burst. So I clicked Defog here, and that could have been a slight mistake. Hurricane, obviously, he's going to keep hitting, and like that is what it is. I shouldn't play around expecting Hurricane to miss, but I don't know. I feel like that's a play that I could have thought out a little better. If I had gone to Goodra there, I was afraid of the specs, but again, at this point he could still be specs, and I wouldn't know any better. But had I gone to Goodra there, I could have generated some offensive pressure. Or even Magearna. The thing is with Magearna, it's like I wouldn't have been able to do a lot. But at this point, I go into Goodra because now I smarten up and I go into Goodra. Again, if Goodra had been alive a turn ago, I would have known better. At this point, I pretty much am sure he's AV now because I see this do nothing, and I see mine. I've calculated I'm AV. U-turn does a good amount of chip here, and I actually click T-Bolt just to kind of hit anything. He can't really go into Raikou for free. So I actually do a good chunk of damage to this thing, which is big for Magearna. I go into Azelf here. He clicks the Avalanche. So I get up my rocks. I want to make sure Torn is getting weakened for this. So this is kind of where things kind of go crappy for me. I made some bad plays, but I also kind of just ended up getting haxed out pretty soon. So right here, I click Fire Blast on this Aggron, who's just really not doing that much to me. Had this Fire Blast hit, Magearna would have been able to kill this thing with Chip later on in the match and actually won the game for me. So the fact that this Fire Blast missed is actually completely massive. Like people kind of said, like, "Oh, Keem, you just lost. You next get hacked out." If we think about this from a really and you'll see later in the game, but actually maybe I'll wait. But the Fire Blast missed there. I had to go back into Goodra and let Goodra get even more chipped down. Obviously a problem. He clicks U-turn there. That Fire Blast miss ended up really sucking. I click another. I just go back into Azelf here because I get the para. But here's where I kind of made a misplay now. Now this one's on me. I clicked Psychic here. I was in a position where I had gotten hacked out a turn before. I wanted to make sure I was punishing that Torn switch, but in hindsight, I should have not been afraid of Fire Blast missing again. Because if Fire Blast missed again, I was screwed. Yeah, obviously. But if Fire Blast had hit, I would have either killed this Aggron and had an Azelf still alive to take on Raikou potentially, or even just work as fodder. Alternatively, if he had gone back into Torn, I would have dealt the chip damage that I so desperately needed against Torn to make sure that Magearna was able to set up on it. So I do kind of make that mistake there, but unfortunately the Fire Blast miss kind of cost me pretty heavily here. I just click T-Bolt and kill this Aggron. And now so Torn comes in, I'm in a really bad situation here, but I pretty much just have to attack what's in front of me now. So basically, right now I know I'm pretty much going to lose. I click Dragon Pulse here, I think, just to do a lot of damage to this thing. But he ends up being leftover, so I kind of start to expect he's a Calm Mind Raikou. Not that that really matters at this point in the game. He's not going to be able to set up a Calm Mind and do enough damage to me. But he just ends up going for T-Bolt to weaken me a little more. I just click Dragon Pulse again. At this point, I actually know that Magearna switches into it and takes 3 T-Bolts. So T-Bolt is a 3-hit KO against my Magearna. So it's actually a really key point because I think I'm like, okay, Magearna, in a world where this, actually right now, from this range of HP, if Torn doesn't have knockoff, I can live any hit that it has to go for and kill it with a Thunderbolt, potentially. So if Magearna can kill this and then weaken the Torn, Goodra could actually win me the game. And so that he does end up having knockoff, so it's not like that mattered, but you can kind of see where like the hacks, the Fire Blast specifically, ended up mattering a lot right here, where and then the Fire Blast in conjunction with what happens right in this series of turns, because I know that Magearna can take this, ends up mattering a lot. I'm still quite salty about it. I click so he clicks HPI, so I actually switch into an HPS, which is really awesome, and I'm like super amped about it. But he proceeds to click T-Bolt and paralyze me. He gets the T-Bolt off, he paralyzed me on my shift gear. I'm super duper salty. And I'm sorry about that. I'm really salty about this because he gets the pair off. He's been hitting Hurricanes all game long. I missed the Fire Blast. The hacks are so immensely against me in this game. It's actually ridiculous. And then for good measure, he actually crits me the next turn. So you know that feels bad. Because theoretically, in my mind, Magearna gets off another shift gear. Right here, actually outspeeds Raikou. And then wins if Goodra can take on this. So, you know that feels terrible. Obviously, he actually ended up having knockoff, so it didn't matter that much. But as you can kind of see, had Fire Blast not missed the first time, I would have been in a situation where Magearna set up really comfortably, and I also potentially would have had an Azelf alive. Who knows how that would have gone to take on this Raikou rather than Magearna. Alternatively, so had it not missed, and then now if Magearna hadn't gotten paralyzed and then also crit, so it had to take all 3 of those in conjunction. But if Magearna hadn't gotten paralyzed and then crit, it would have gotten up to a speed where it could have beaten this and beaten the Fire Blast previously, and so sufficiently chipped Tornadus. And so Tornadus would have died to an Ice Beam. Yeah, so it is what it is. Goodra comes in, is able to minimize differential. I don't know, definitely a little salty about that. As you can see, I hope I kind of made the case where like the hacks really obviously mattered a ton in the end results of the game. And I'm really upset because week 1 seems to just be immense. And my record against Slurry is unbelievably bad, and somehow he's actually, like, it's almost he's made an art form out of hacking me out of wins. And so it's very frustrating to lose to him repeatedly. He's a good player, no doubt, and he's actually made playoffs, I think, at least once or twice. So he's a good player, but I really feel like I was outplaying him. And there were 2 situations. I think the Azelf clicking Psychic was a mistake, and the Swallow clicking Defog was a mistake. But you can also very easily imagine where, like, if I hadn't gotten hacked, those wouldn't have even mattered, and those would have actually been, like, the weird thing is, like, had I not gotten hacked out of my Fire Blast miss the first time, I was actually making the right play clicking Psychic, and had I not gotten hacked out of Magearna at the end, clicking Defog was the right play because Magearna would have swept at the end. So I made correct plays for for the win condition I was trying to execute, and the hacks made my incorrect plays really stand out and look really incorrect. So I feel like there's some commentary here on like maybe I could have played better, but the hacks made sure that I couldn't. Regardless, hopefully I can come up a little better against the Tyranitar Twigs. I really have studied this game a lot, and like, where did I go wrong? It really came down to those 2 plays and then the hacks that were against me. I felt like in the end, I don't know. You definitely could make a point that like, oh, Aggron got paralyzed, but like I don't. That one didn't feel very consequential when I wasn't even killing it. So, and also the thing is, Magirna would have much preferred to have set up on an Earthquake from an Aggron at that point in the game, because I would have actually probably been able to deal a shit ton of damage to whatever was coming out, and Goodra would have cleaned up from there. So I was in a situation like where, I don't know, like, because it really feels like it comes down to the hacks there. Because even if he hadn't paralyzed me, actually that would have maybe even been better. Or if I hadn't paralyzed him, because Azelf dies to Aggron, and then I come with Magirna and set up on that instead. Regardless, obviously some lessons to be learned. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully we'll be able to come back and not get hacks out of our fucking minds next game. I will see you guys in that battle, hopefully live. And until then, I'll see you guys later. Kraken Nation out.